Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, good morning. Welcome to Mastering Online Excellence, where you will learn strategies for enhancing site search and optimizing your product detail pages. What a great couple of introductory slides. The AD team sure has had a lot of activities planned for the fall. The chat is open, so I encourage you to introduce yourself, share your company, and where you're joining us today. This webinar will be recorded. And wow, attendance is up well over 100 right now. So Brandon, let's get started.
Absolutely.
All right. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Caroline Ernst, Vice President of E-commerce Solutions at AD. And with me today is AD's e-commerce partner, Brandon Cameron from Americaneagle.com.
Yeah, it's great to be here. Thank you very much for having me, Caroline.
Absolutely. So Brandon, give us a quick overview. Why is on-site customer site search important? And provide us some context for how that drives conversion on the product detail page.
Absolutely. Site search is one of those tools that are becoming now the primary way that most of your customers navigate your site. It used to be more browsers, navigators using your main category navigation, but we've seen with a lot of our clients and other AD members that about 70% of first touch is that search bar. So making sure that everything is optimized and you have the right data to power it is key to having that successful web experience for your customers.
Awesome. All right, Brandon, let's get started. Today, we're going to cover how to improve user experience using site search. And we're going to talk in more detail with best practices around PDP, or your product detail page design. So I noticed in the registration list that about a quarter of you are not participating in AD Commerce Solutions. So if you'll bear with me for a moment, I'll give a quick overview of who we are and our value to members. AD E-commerce Solutions has grown alongside AD members while delivering eContent and digital services that meet members where they are in their digital journey. Our North Star is for all AD members to be digital enabled. And we set our growth objectives and strategies to be in service to helping our members achieve digital success. All right, none of this would be possible without the great e-commerce solutions team that really is here to support your digital objectives. We've got the digital success team complemented by the content team. So we're focused on improving content quality and supporting members to be able to capitalize on the strengths of the e-commerce team and to pair that or complement that with your in-house team so that you're looking at the AD e-commerce team as an extension of your own team. All right, one slide about AD e-commerce solutions. We help independent distributors advance in your digital journey. We have a data pool of 7.5 million enhanced SKUs. We have your product content. We offer digital solutions. And those are supported by integrating the supplier product content directly into our AD member PIM and offering that in multiple ways for members to be able to extract and use on your e-commerce platform. We have several e-commerce partners like American Eagle. And out of the 245 participating members, there are over 175 members that are live with AD content fueling their websites today. So let me just pause a moment and talk about direct connections with our supplier partners. We have automated the product connectivity so that from the supplier source of truth directly to the member's target, whether that's ERP or e-commerce platform or punch out, We are able to move content 3 times faster in a speed to market, and having those direct connects enables up to 20 points greater completion in product data. So better content and a better experience. All right, on-site search is really where everything begins. Search is only as good as the data that feeds it. And commerce search and product discovery rely on an assortment of data types to serve relevant, personalized search results to your customers. So we're going to talk about product, inventory, location, customer and session data, as well as keywords, and how all of these can help power or enable a great search experience that your customers need to find the products on their site. I hope what you'll get out of this session is that you'll understand the potential for optimizing these different experiences in search. All right, pull out your phone, open up your camera. We're going to get a little interactive here. Please scan the QR code, which will pull up a poll and allow you to vote on how confident you are in your site's abilities to return results back to the searcher that's looking for the content. All right, we see a lot of people are confident, some are highly confident, and for some, they have no search function at all. So as we run through, keep voting, as we run through these best practices, if you have 2 screens, pull up your site on another screen so that as we're going through some of the best practices, you can be looking at your own site and thinking about how you might apply these best practices that we're going to review together. All right, we'll take a snapshot of that. About 53 people, 54 people voted. We've got 11% at highly confident, 35% confident. And then there are a few of you who are probably just getting started. All right, thanks for participating. Now, before we get started, let's think about the benefits of having a good site search on the customer experience, right? Site search plays a crucial role. And here are some stats, which is always great to kick off to reinforce some of these best practices. So a good site search is going to improve your customer experience with 87% of buyers starting their product searches online. 68% of customers would not return to a site with a poor site search experience. And then ultimately, having a good site search is going to increase your conversion rate. So your customers know what they want to buy. They're going to come to your site. Typically, they're either going to log in first or go directly to that search bar. And what should that search bar look like? So let's start with the search bar. The search bar should be prominently displayed at the top of the page and large enough to incorporate a typical search query. The search bar can include placeholder text like item, like search item, manufacturer part number, UPC, keyword to help guide the buyer. Here on State Electric's site, when I start typing cordless, you see the site search immediately start suggesting top categories and top product matches. As I type, the search will auto-complete and auto-suggest subsequent keywords. So delivering a relevant result is really crucial. So hopefully you're doing this on your site today. And if not, this is a great best practice to take back with you. So let's take a look at the next step and consider how the search experience could incorporate location and inventory. Here, the buyer is looking for a specific warehouse and looking for something that's in stock today. Potentially, this is unplanned spend that is needed right away. So they're looking at buying it and maybe picking it up in the branch. Also look at the search within a search that's highlighted right below, where you can search within a specific category. Another example, and this is from AD member SMC, is looking at the location. It's customized. I have my location customized to Kansas. And then there's the option to select in stock only. The location and the inventory selections are going to influence the search results, yielding more relevant results. In this example from electrical and BPT member CBT, the recently viewed items are based on the customer's session data. And here, it's showing lighting sensors from Leviton and Hubble. All right, so this is some of the basic best practices of site search. Let's move on to some of the advanced ways we can use keywords. AD has added several advanced content attributes to our data to help you refine your on-site search. One of my favorites in our digital catalog is the AD supplier indicator. It is really valuable, as I hope everyone on the webinar knows, that when AD members promote AD suppliers, your company receives a higher rebate. So within the buying group model, when you sell more from AD suppliers, your company is going to do better. And so being able to promote the suppliers that are AD partners are really helpful. Here you see Siemens ranking above Eaton on Butler Supply. All right, that's just one example. Let's jump over to some other advanced keywords and take a look at competitive part numbers and wholesaler part numbers. AD has loaded over 250,000 national competitive part numbers. And these are from places like Ferguson, Grainger, Amazon, MSC. So you might include these in your site search in the back end so that when customers come to your site and type in the nationals part number or wholesaler part number, the search results will show your corresponding SKU that you sell. So does it sound like any of these are going to benefit your end customers? Perhaps your inside sales team that's using your site as a research tool might find this helpful. Another example, this is how Pay Supply is leveraging our competitive part numbers today, where a user can search for a Ferguson part number and return the corresponding SKU that Pay Supply sells. This creates an opportunity to capture a conversion that may otherwise be lost. And finally, one more example from industrial member Mars Supply that includes the MSC part numbers in their keywords. So when you're searching for MSC on their website, you will receive the corresponding Mars Supply SKU rather than yielding a null result. It's also beneficial to populate the competitive part numbers and wholesale part numbers in your ERP system so your internal teams can see them there as well. So let's talk about how site search is leveraging AI. So rather than simply matching keywords, AI uses language processing models and deep learning techniques to improve the accuracy and relevancy of results. Traditional site search, which most of us use today, matches based on keyword, and then at queries keyword to keyword in a stored search index. AI search is different. So some of the things we've talked about do fall under the umbrella of AI, and that's a pretty big umbrella. But let's look at how AI might work with regards to these bobtail gloves. So with regards to natural language processing, the engine might understand a query like A4, cut X, B, D, G, even if the exact phrasing doesn't match the product description. Your search engine might also provide product recommendations based on your browsing history, where the AI could suggest related terms. Maybe in this case, they're going to recommend cutting fluids or tool holders that are often, purchased with other like products. The site search also would recognize industry-specific synonyms and abbreviations. For example, it might understand that HSS means high-speed steel when searching for drill bits. AI makes site search more scalable, more accurate, more efficient for your e-commerce team and for your users. It's rapidly evolving. So I would suggest talking with your software provider about their capabilities and what they're investing in with regards to AI and their site search software. All right, it's great to talk about AI, but again, getting back to basics, let's make sure we are measuring search performance. So when we look at usage, success rates, and quality, as you're sitting on the phone, are you thinking about how, if you've implemented search tracking, and if you haven't, that's your first step. And then what are you measuring? So are you measuring usage of site search? Are you measuring the % of visitors who use site search? Common search queries, or the reverse of that, null search results, so that you can optimize those null search results to actually show product, or to let your buying team know, hey, a lot of people are coming to our site and searching for X, perhaps we should stock it. Are you looking at the success rates? Members are coming to your site, buyers, to perform specific actions. So are you looking at how they're able to click through? And are you benchmarking that against competitive nationals or against other e-commerce sites that are competitors to you? And finally, what's the quality of the result? Here's something that you could take away today. Take your top 10 products, put them in your site search and see what the results are. Are people able to find what they're looking for? So ultimately, by optimizing site search, you can significantly improve the user experience, potentially yielding increased sales, higher customer satisfaction, and improved efficiency for both customers and the folks on your team. Site search will drive the buyer to the product detail page. So, Brandon, come back on. What are some of the best practices for optimizing the product detail page?
Yeah, I think that once you find the right product, the next best thing is to make it as frictionless of a process to buy. When we start talking about PDPs or product detail pages, there's a number of avenues and best practices, and I'm about to dive in. But before that, a little bit more information about me and the stranger on the slide. That was me about 12 inches of beard length ago. My name is Brendan Cameron. I'm the Director of Strategic Accounts for Manufacturing and Distribution at Americaneagle.com. And a little bit of information about American Eagle. We're located right outside of Chicago, Illinois by O'Hare Airport. Like many AD members, we're a family-owned and operated organization. We have about 3 generations that are currently employed. From the founder of our company, his 2 sons, who are president and CEO, and their kids that are currently working in various departments and divisions at the company. I started in 2010, which puts me just under 15 years at the company. And I've worked in a number of these avenues, from strategy work, UI, UX, but all of it mostly revolving around e-commerce. Now, to start things off, I have my own questions as well. I'd like the audience to give some of their insights on. What I'm looking for is, how do you feel about your product details page from a user interface and layout? Are you thrilled with how perfect it is and how frictionless and intuitive your customers find it? Or do you know that there's a little bit of work to do? While that's going on, I do want to break it down that one of the big things that we're going to touch on throughout this whole event is not just looking at your product detail page from a traditional desktop environment. I will say that we're finding that we made a jump in the distribution and manufacturing side of things from about 10% 10 years ago, around 2014, 2015, using mobile devices on websites, to now in the manufacturing and distribution sphere, we're getting up to the 50% and higher mark. So when you think about it, answering this question, think about it holistically. But from what it looks like, everyone feels pretty good about it. We're very much in the middle of the road, either that neutral piece or pretty good. We had 45 people respond. That's excellent. Now, to cover what we're going to do is just go over a couple of those key pieces: the design and layout, content optimization, data specifics, to turn in what Caroline was talking about, the AD e-catalog feed is going to be a boon in this, because there's going to be a lot of information and content we want to share with our customers, and to have it in a clean and consistent format is going to be key. Now, when we start talking about product detail page optimization and webinars in general, everyone needs to have a fact page. So you're going to be able to go through and see, a lot of that information. Oh, there we go. But this is probably the most important piece I'd like to touch on. There's going to be a link available where you could download the high-res image. You don't have to squint your eyes too much. But when we talk about a product detail page layout, business to business, manufacturing and distribution as a whole, it is much more complex processes, much more complex products than you would see on a retail site, like buying a t-shirt or a pair of jeans. What our job is people owning and running the website, is to take as many of those complex processes and place them into these familiar structures that you find in your everyday life. One of the biggest pieces of that is that while people may not shop directly with you online today, when they go home, when they're at their house and looking for groceries or a new television or anything like that, they're most likely shopping online. And the way that we can increase participation with your customers on your website is to give them that familiar experience. So your team is going to have that responsibility if there's a lot of configuration or there's a lot of information that you need from them. It's your job, and it's our job as the agency, to make it as intuitive and frictionless as possible. And those are those 2 words you're going to probably hear throughout most of these slides. Now, when we look at the recommended priorities, this is my list that I go to. So you're going to look at things like, oh, sorry, go up a couple. There we go. So you want to lead with the information your customers care about. That is going to be that #1 priority, because as subjective or as much as we think we know what the customer needs, This is that opportunity where there's going to be constant evolution, maybe over the long term. We're going to be looking at providing that most prioritized information, but then also there may be those use cases that there may be some special documentation, certifications, or other pieces that are there. But really, we need to cater to that top 80% of data that most people are going to need. Then when we look at the next part, this is more of the content side of things. So looking at layout compared to actual content sides, you're going to be avoiding business jargon. You're going to want to be, sorry, go back up to the slide 40, the B2B recommended priorities. There you go. When we start talking about the work in the content side of things, you're going to want to avoid business jargon. You need to keep it short and precise. And this ties into not only having a good understanding and making sure you're not overburdening your customer with a lot of words, but also when we get into the work in AI and crawling with things like search engines, there is a certain reading level that the AI is going to follow. And in order for that comprehension to come through, you can't fill it with a bunch of buzzwords and terms. You can't use over technical messaging or things like that. It needs to be understood for just about any user type, because as this AI bubble continues to grow, that's how they're going to be fed the information. And when we start talking about the people that are using the site, there are 3 base personas or 3 base customers that we always attach when looking at a product detail page layout. And this is very important to start attaching these personas or customer types to your users, because they give very different metrics in terms of what's a successful visit versus what's a failure. A researcher or an engineer, they're the type of people that have an application they're looking or a solution they're looking for with one of your products. And they actually have one of the lowest conversion rates on the site, because most of the time, if you take a look at it from your customer perspective, they're validating the product list or the buying list that they need and then passing it off to their buying or purchasing department. So if we're able to label that researcher as an actual dedicated user, you're going to see that conversion rate is going to naturally rise for the people that are actually placing those purchases. And what we need to give them is the information to validate the application of that product. So if they're working in forging and steel mills, and they're looking for high temperature and trying to find the maximum threshold, it's going to be your responsibility to get them those types of technical specifications easily and effectively. If we're dealing with a buyer or purchasing agent, they're going to be more of the non-technical role, but they're probably your highest conversion rate when it comes to actually placing orders online. What they need is they need validation that the product they're looking at on your product detail page is in fact the product that they were told to purchase. And by giving them the experience where they could very quickly go from your home page to your listing page to your detail page into checkout is going to be key there. So having all of the availability information, having all the lead time, having very unique criteria unique to that persona. The final type is that contractor. They're going to be very focused on either having the models or CAD drawings for some of the products in case that they're putting together the plans and bids for a project. They're going to be looking at the pricing and inventory availability so that they could plan out and schedule their project timelines. And they'll also be looking to complete quotes online because they're only going to be making those purchases if they win the bid. So having that option on the product detail page, not only to potentially add to cart, but to add to quote or add to a saved list is going to be imperative to them. Now on the next slide, if you've never done a customer journey map or a customer profile before, this is a great infographic that you could use. Essentially, you're just trying to understand what the needs and insights of every customer type you have online and what their experience and touch points are. This is what's going to let you kind of objectively look on how your product detail page needs to be arranged. Because like I mentioned before, we need to take into account the different types of users, whether that's profession segment, whether it's industry segment, and then taking a look at who is considerably priority when you're making these types of layouts. You know, are we putting the CAD drawings at the top of the page on real estate? Are we adding videos for more of the informational and educational users? You know, where do we set these up? That can all be helped objectively by knowing who is using the website. The other great thing that product detail pages really needs, and this is another part that AD helps with, especially with their SKU associations, is the product relationships. Now, when we're looking at product relationships, oh, it looks like we're jumping ahead a little bit. Could we go up to, I think it's slide 43? Yeah. Yeah, so the product relationships, there's two ways that you can essentially place this onto your website. The first one is going to be that manual relationship, and that's where, again, AD has their SKU associations, and you have the ability not only to have relationships based on maybe it's required software, or maybe it's an optional accessory or add-on, or even maybe you have multiple brands that you're offering. You can show comparative products. So you're looking for a 120 volt breaker. You may have 5 or 6 brand offerings. You can show on a product detail page the other 4 or 5 that are comparative to the product detail page they're on. And when it comes to user navigation, I think the most important part for anyone to know from a website perspective is that not all user journeys start at the homepage. If you are working on your SEO and you continue to build on it, you have to understand that you may have people coming directly to a product detail page from Google. You may have people going to a listing page, and that may be the start of their journey. And without good navigation on your site, even on the PDP page, maybe looking at a breadcrumb trail, maybe looking at the product relationships or exploded views and schematics, all of these types of tools can help that user that may have jumped already deep into your conversion funnel, if it's the wrong path, to find their way to the right one. This does happen quite a bit, and it could be the case if you're looking at your analytics, a lot of bounces or lowering engagement rate for everyone that's actually using GA4 right now. But this is these kind of practices that you need to build into that user experience as a way for people that came to your site not directly from the homepage. And for the next slide with the relationships here, here's one example of the SKU associations that AD provides within their supplier configuration section. So you can see this is more of the add-on and accessories scenario, where you might have the Kohler toilet, and then you're also providing suggestions for a lid that it guaranteed to match. You know, it's an elongated toilet, you need an elongated lid. It comes with the flange accessory. It also comes with maybe other functional pieces as well. The other side of this is the AI portion. So this is diving into actually taking what your customers are doing on the site, recording it within your e-commerce site or recommendations engine, and then actually automatically providing those recommendations that the AI generates after learning customer behavior. So this would be something along the lines of where, and everyone's seen this like on Amazon or even Netflix, you watch a show or you buy a product, and suddenly you're getting recommended other products that either other people have watched or other customers have purchased. And this is something that automatically gets populated. Now, the reason I say you should use both of these is the first thing is that AI will always be objective. So if you have any incentives or spiffs or other merchandising strategies you have in place, there is a benefit of that manual one. The second one being is any AI or behavioral automation does take time to start up. So you're going to have that period where there may not be any recommendations or may not be very accurate recommendations starting until that ramp up period has started. Now, one of the final pieces in terms of UI UX work is going to be your pricing your purchase path, and your delivery. A good user experience is going to have accurate pricing on the site. When a customer logs in, it needs to be their price, because if they don't see their price on the website, they're going to call their sales rep and leave. If their pricing is loaded on the site, but maybe their session expired or maybe they didn't log in, they probably didn't notice. And they'll hang up they'll pick up the phone and they'll disconnect from the browser. So one of the best practices we've seen is, one, having the customer pricing readily synced and available. And then two, if the website does notice that a customer is not logged in, prompting them near or directly on the pricing area, telling them to log in to see their price, just to remind them. That could be that one usability step that continues that funnel and doesn't have them bounce. Also, if you do any quantity or broken package discounts or surpluses, this is the time that you add it as well, making sure that they have notifications. If you buy 5 more, the price drops per unit. This is all great incentives to help maximize that order volume. Also, having transparent and accurate information. I know many people are either doing live inventory or just in time with lead time capabilities, saying typically ships or arrives within 3 to 5 days. But I really want to take into account that regional and manufacturer support. This is something new that's really coming into play that a lot of our clients and fellow AD members are using, where suppliers and manufacturers are actually opening up their inventory amounts to the distributors that they work with. And by having a simple connection or downloading a simple inventory file, your customers not only are going to be able to see your inventory available, but also what's available for direct ship if there is a large order that needs to be submitted. So it kind of helps reinforce the fact that says, hey, we may only have 5 of the 50 you need, but our suppliers have 10,000 and ready to go, and we'll get that to you as quickly as if it was coming from us. Another nice technique and technology that's become available is having historical information directly on the product details page. If you can imagine with that buying or purchasing agent persona, they're going to the site, they find a product, they go to the details page, and having something that pops up and shows them, hey, January 3rd, you bought 22 of these, or the price is updated a certain amount compared to the other value, or there's been a price increase or decrease. The last part is also having the availability for those customers to put in their specific part numbers on the PDP. So I could go to the product detail page. I could go to my Siemens Q120 120 volt breaker. I can click add custom part number. It opens up a text field. I type in the information. That way I can always validate it the next time I'm on my site. Now, this is not so much customer journey or customer experience portion, this next slide. This is more to help your website and your visibility to bring in net new customers, as well as enhance your overall traffic. The product detail page is one of the most important pieces for good SEO, because there's just so much unique or niche information in it that's non-branded. A lot of distributors we work with, branded is probably the top component of all of their SEO rankings. And with their product detail pages, this is an opportunity to get some non-branded traffic to the site. If you find opportunities where certain products are generating a lot of traffic for you, you should capitalize on that opportunity. And the way that you do that is on the left side, you'll see here the technical framework, making sure all of your indexing is in place, making sure you have good code, there's no errors or JavaScript blocking, you have all the speed or the page speed insights done, and just following all of the general structures that Google and other search engines expect. The right side, on top of what's already probably been supplemented by the AD eCatalog feed, is another piece where having all of your information outside of files. I know a lot of people like their SDSs and other spec sheets in PDF that's easy to download, and that's great to have for your customers looking to get that information in hand. But all of that information also needs to be on the website. It needs to be live text that's crawlable by Google. And all that content then will further help that SEO when people are searching for parts, they're searching for categories, they're searching for brands, and not your name brand. And to kind of show everything that I've been telling now, this final section just is the experiences we've had with both AD members and non-AD members alike. Agilix recently launched their new site with Americaneagle.com, and we saw a before and after snapshot, and this is using a tool called Page Speed Insights. This is kind of the gold standard when it comes to how to measure how successful your page is in the eyes of Google and other search engines. And you could see the focus, and following the best practices that I just covered today, we went from an overall score of 10 to 88. So this is really going to help because, as I'm sure many of you know, but some may not, Google is using page load speed and performance now in their rankings. So even though this is mostly going to be good for your customer experience, not having to wait 10 seconds for the page to load, but instead being able to instantly see that product detail page and the information it provides, this is also going to help passively with your SEO performance. A more UX focused update we made is with State Electric. And some of the pieces that we touched on earlier, you could come see now. Before, we had a giant red bar that was, telling them to log in. While it was very effective of making sure their customers saw to log in, it probably wasn't the best because it also looked like, the site was going to blow up, but there was a critical issue. So what we did is we took that message and we put it directly next to their price. So now when a customer zeroes in on the price, they're actually going to see that message right there, log in to see your price. And that's a much more subtle yet effective way of seeing it, because we've even heard times from State Electric that people still had not seen that giant red bar there. And I'm not going to dive too much into this. You'll be able to read through it after you receive a copy, but here's just an overall view and results of the work we did with State Electric, and also some work that we feel is pretty relatable to other AD members with Repair Clinic. They're one of the largest appliance and small engine component parts repair facilities and e-commerce sites. And the type of user experience and SEO that they were able to do by updating their search and their product detail page. And then finally, RDO Equipment, who's actually one of the largest John Deere dealers and distributors in the world. We redid their entire capital equipment catalog, as well as their parts, which integrated directly with the John Deere supplier. So again, some great information and things that you could learn and kind of take into account when you're thinking about what can I possibly do to enhance my product detail page. I think, Caroline, you coming back?
I am. Thank you. And for everyone who's still with us, I apologize for some of the flickering. There's a timing on a couple of the slides from our introduction. So that's on us. We apologize for the flickering. So let's go over some of the key takeaways. At a super high level, when you're thinking about optimizing your on-site search, first, take a look at the search bar. See what that experience is like. Second, prioritize the data criteria and the customer experience based on your specific business. Third, leverage all the data points at your disposal to enable the search engine to become smarter. Fourth, integrate those advanced keywords that I referenced. If you have any questions, reach out to your digital success manager here at AD. And finally, if you're not measuring it, you don't know if it's working or not. So make sure that you are measuring site search and the rest of your site. If you have questions about any of these, again, you can reach out to AD for any content questions. And then Brandon, if you would review the PDP optimizations.
Yeah, absolutely. So my first go-to whenever or before you ever start doing work would be to understand who is using your PDP, creating those customer journeys, creating those personas, And that way it'll help you prioritize the vast amount of elements that are located on a PDP. Then focusing on clear and concise content and data, not being too overly wordy. I understand ballasts are a very sexy product, but it's one of those things to where I think a few words can probably say more than many. The other thing is to leverage product relationships, making sure that you don't find a dead end within your funnel. The purchasing funnel is something to where a customer may get halfway down and find out that's not the product they're working at. Product relationships is a great way to pivot in case they go down the wrong path, or to increase your average order volume by finding additional products that go with that. Also, I'll recommend to generate new traffic, you want to optimize both the technical side and content side of your SEO, and have a clear and structured product data management system. I hear AD has a pretty good one, as I think I've mentioned a couple times before, but it's a great path to really accelerate that, because managing product data and enhancing it is just a bear to have for, teams that are typically already overburdened. And then I will say these are a couple of links that I shared with Caroline and the AD team. The first one is the pagespeed.web.dev. That is that Google PageSpeed Insights website. So you just can punch your product detail page in there, your home page in there, and it'll give you that scorecard so you can kind of see what you need to attack and where you can improve. The next one is SEMrush or semrush.com. That's a great way to get a quick audit on your site. There is a free account that is available, or a trial. It's a great way to, again, get that pulse on where you're at. The next one is the Baymard Institute. This is a company we work with quite a bit. And I think this was one, Caroline, you kind of got lost in.
Yeah.
This is a think tank that specializes in e-commerce, user experience, and user interfaces. And if you ever are looking for like that inspiration, this is the place to go to get some great ideas and to really dig in. While it does require a premium membership to unlock all content, there is a wealth of free articles and thought pages in there already. And then G2.com, they're a software service similar to how Gartner and Forrester will provide recommendations for companies and services and things like that. However, they focus strictly on online applications. So if you're looking for a shipping provider, a web platform, a CMS, a PIM, G2 is a great place to start getting that list of, possible partners in there.
Excellent. I know we were looking to have Q&A, but we are almost out of time. So we're going to skip it this time. And thank you to Kim and Brianna, who are manning the chat for us. We appreciate that. You see here our contact information. Please reach out to us. Again, we are here in service to the AD Independent Distributor channel. And finally, AD, together we win. Thank you, everyone, for your time today. We appreciate it. Take care.
Bye all.